For this drawing, we are going to make an exterior, so outside in 1 point perspective. We're going to start the same way every perspective construction has started so far, with our horizon line. So again, that represents our eye level as the viewer and as the artist. So somewhere near the center of my page, I can just eyeball it. It does not have to be measured down. I'm going to do a horizontal straight line. Again, that represents my eye level as the viewer and the artist. I'm going to put an HL on it, and that's going to be my horizon line. Since this is 1 point perspective, we need one vanishing point for all of our converging lines to disappear back to. So somewhere near the center of my paper on my horizon line, I'm going to put my vanishing point, or my VP, my vanishing point. So I'm going to again make an exterior or a city scene. So I'm going to start by making my buildings, and there's going to be a line of buildings on this side going back to my vanishing point, and a line of buildings on this side going back to my vanishing point. So I start by, again, boxes, just like we did with our 1 point boxes. And when we started every object in our 1 point interior, we started with straight verticals and straight horizontals. And that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to start with a vertical. So I'm going to come over about 1 inch from the edge of my paper, and I'm going to draw a vertical that is parallel to the edge of my paper, or the side of my paper. It's going to be underneath the top of the page. It's going to go down through my horizon line, and it's going to stop about 1 inch short from the bottom of the page. So I'm not going all the way to the top, I'm not going all the way to the bottom, I'm leaving myself some space. So then I'm going to do my horizontal straight across to finish out the bottom of this side of the building. So at the bottom of the line I just drew, I'm going to do a horizontal, again that's parallel to my horizon line, from that vertical I just made over to the edge of the paper. I'm going to do the same thing at the top. So the top of that vertical I just made, keeping my ruler as straight as I can so it's parallel to my horizon line. Again, just eyeballing it, doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm going to draw that line back towards the edge of my paper. So this is the side of this building that faces me in our virtual or 3D space that we're creating here. So it has straight horizontals and straight verticals. Now I need the other side of my building, and it's going to converge back to my vanishing point in the center to get it to look like it's 3D space. So the bottom of that vertical, where it met my horizontal that goes straight across, I'm going to line that up with my vanishing point in the center, and then I'm going to draw back towards my vanishing point. I don't want to go too far because I want to get a couple other buildings in this space here too. So I kind of drew back and then I stopped. I'm the artist, so I get to decide how much distance I want my building to be, how big I want my building to be. I'm going to do the same thing at the top. So the top where that horizontal met the vertical, right there, I'm going to line up that point with my vanishing point in the center, and I'm going to draw a little line, again, towards my vanishing point. So this is a big box, basically, that's vanishing back towards our vanishing point here in the center. That will become our first building. So now I'm going to finish out this side by adding in a vertical. So a vertical that is parallel to that very first vertical that I made. It's okay if I have extra bits, I can erase those off. But I'm going to connect those two converging lines with a straight vertical. And that's basically my first building. I'm going to do the same thing now on the opposite side of my paper. So I'm going to give myself some space from the edge of my paper. I'm going to come over about 1 inch, maybe a little bit less this time. And I'm going to do a vertical. This time it's not going to be as tall, so I'm going to give myself more space from the top, maybe come down about 2 inches or so from the top. I'm going to go down through my horizon line, and I'm going to go and end close to the same spot that I had the first one end. Because that's going to be our road, and it can't go any lower than that, because then I'm saying it's going through my cement road, and that's not possible. So I've got that vertical here. Now I'm going to do the horizontal straight across, back towards the edge of my paper. Again, keeping my ruler as best as I can, being parallel with my horizon line, and drawing a line back towards the edge of my paper. At the bottom, do the same thing at the top. So the top lines up with my, keeping my ruler parallel with my horizon line, and I'm drawing that horizontals over towards the edge of my paper. So again, that's the side that faces me as the viewer, and in 1 point perspective, the sides that face us on objects like a desk or a bed or a building or anything that we're constructing have straight horizontals and straight verticals as the way to get them first started. So now this needs to go back again in 3D space. So the bottom corner where my vertical met my horizontal, I'm going to line that up with my vanishing point in the center, and I'm going to draw a line back. Maybe I'll make this one a little bit longer. Do the same thing for the top. So the top where the vertical met the horizontal, I'm going to line that up with my vanishing point in the center again, and I'm going to draw towards my vanishing point, but I'm not going to go the whole way, so I'm not connecting it to my vanishing point. Now I'm going to do a line that connects these two or finishes out the side of that building, and I do that again with a straight vertical. And the vertical should be parallel to my very first vertical that I made on this building. So I connect those two with a vertical that I drop down between the two. I'm going to erase my extra bit on my building there. But that is 2 buildings now, one on each side of my eventual street. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put another 2 buildings on this side and another 2 buildings on this side. So there'll be 3 total buildings on the left-hand side of my paper or my road, and 3 total buildings on the right-hand side of my paper or my road. So I'm going to give myself some space. I'm not going to start right here with that vertical, because I want there to be like an alleyway or some space between my buildings. My buildings are not connected to or touching each other. So I've given myself a little bit of space coming over from that building, and I'm going to do over to the right from that building. I'm going to do a vertical again that goes down through my horizon line, but stops right here at the bottom of that first building. So it's not going to be as tall as my first building, so I'm going to come underneath that. I'm going to go down through my horizon line, and it stops right here at the same point where my very first building ended. So that vertical that ended my first building, I don't go any lower than that on this additional building, or the second building. So again, this is the side that faces me, so it's going to have straight verticals and straight horizontals. So at the bottom of that line I just drew, the vertical I just drew, I'm going to do a horizontal, again, that's parallel to my horizon line, over towards my first building, just like that. Do the same thing at the top. So the top of that vertical, that's started my second building. Again, I'm getting my ruler as best as I can to be parallel with my horizon line. And I'm drawing over towards my first building. So that's the side of the building that's facing me, and it's as if there's like a little alleyway there or a space between these 2 buildings. They don't actually connect or touch each other. So now the bottom is going to converge back to my vanishing point. So the bottom where that vertical met the horizontal, I'm going to line that up with my vanishing point in the center, and I'm going to draw back towards that. Again, I'm not going the whole distance. Do the same thing for the top. So where the top horizontal met the vertical, I'm going to line that up with my vanishing point in the center, and I'm going to draw again towards the center, not going the whole way. And then to finish out this building, just like I did for my first one, I'm going to draw a vertical straight down that connects the 2. And then I can erase off my extra bits. Extra bit at the top, extra bit at the bottom. I'm going to do the same thing now for the right-hand side of my paper. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of space. I don't want it to touch my side of my building. I'm going to come over to the left this time a little bit. This building is going to be taller than my first building, so I'm going to do a vertical that goes higher than my first building, goes through my horizon line, and then stops again right where the bottom of that vertical that ended my first building stopped. I don't want to go any lower than that, because then again I'm saying it's going through my sidewalk, and that's not physically possible in the real world here. So now at the bottom there, same thing like I did over here, I'm going to do a horizontal that is parallel to my horizon line at the bottom there, and it's going to go back towards my first building in 3D space. Same thing for the top here. So the top one, I'm going to take it again parallel to my horizon line. It's going to go towards the edge of my paper, and I'm the artist. I get to decide how far back it's going to go. So I went over, I didn't go all the way towards the edge. I stopped before I came to the edge, and then I finish out this side with a straight vertical, because again, it's the side that faces me, so it has straight horizontals and straight verticals. So to finish that side, I'm gonna have my ruler again be parallel with the edge of my picture plane or the side of my paper, and I'm going to do a vertical that starts where that line, that horizontal ended, and it's gonna stop right when it hits the top of my first building. So that's the side that faces me. Now I need to do the side that converges back in 3D space. So I'm going to take the bottom of that first building I made. I'm going to line that up with my, the second building that I'm starting to make here. The bottom of that vertical, where the vertical met the horizontal, I'm going to line that up with my vanishing point in the center here. And I'm going to draw back towards my vanishing point. And maybe I'm not going to go as far. Maybe I want this to be like a tall, skinny building. So I'm going to stop there. The same thing for the top. So where this vertical that started my second building met my horizontal at the top, I'm going to line that up with my vanishing point in the center. And I'm going to draw towards my vanishing point in the center. Again, to finish this side of the building, I'm going to do a vertical that connects the two. So vertical, that's parallel or as close as I can to the edge of my paper, the sides of my buildings. I'm going to drop a vertical down that connects those two converging lines. So I have a building, two buildings on the right-hand side of my paper, two buildings on the left-hand side of my paper. I'm going to finish the buildings out in this by adding one more building on each side. So again, just to kind of walk you through it again, I'm going to leave some space. So I'm doing the third building on the left-hand side. I'm going to leave some space from where my second building ended, and I'm going to start with a vertical again. This one's going to be taller again, so I'm going to start with a vertical that goes down through my horizon line, but again stops where it hits, where it lines up with the bottom of my second building going back in 3D space. Then I'm going to do my horizontals straight over. One at the bottom. Again, my horizontal should be parallel to my horizon line. One at the top. I'm the artist. I get to decide where it's going to end. It's going to be a long building, so it goes back like that. And then on the side that is straight towards me, the one with straight horizontals and straight verticals, I end that side with just a straight vertical going down until it meets the top of, in this case, my first building. And then this is going to converge back in 3D space by taking the bottom corner of that building, lining it up with my vanishing point in the center and drawing back towards the center. Same thing for the top. So the top, where that horizontal met the vertical, it's going to line up with my building, or with my vanishing point in the center. I'm going to draw down towards my vanishing point. You can see that the angles are getting steeper because it's closer to my horizon line, closer to my vanishing point. And I end this side of the building with a vertical that connects the two. I'm going to leave myself some space. You might see that a little bit better if I come on the other side of this. It's going to stop again when it reaches the bottom of that second building on the right-hand side here. And then the horizontals go straight across towards the edge of my paper until they hit the side of, in this case, the second building. Again, I want to keep my horizontals parallel to my picture plane, or parallel to my horizon line here. And then this side is going to converge back. So where the vertical met the horizontal there, I'm going to line that up with my vanishing point in the center. And I'm going to draw back towards the center. It's going to be a long, short building. The same thing for the top. So the top lines up with my vanishing point in the center. And I'm going to draw back again towards my vanishing point. And I end this end that side of the building by dropping in a vertical that connects those two converging lines. I have 6 buildings, so 3 on the left-hand side of my road, 3 on the right hand side of my road,